Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report, man. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure you check out blackfoxnews.com/shop to actually support the movement. Get yourself some paraphernalia, some gear that'll actually show love to the channel. Make people aware of it or whatever. You know, be the voice for the people, for yourself and the community around you. Raise that consciousness level up. You know what I mean? Support us as we continue to support y'all. The link you can find in the Instagram bio or just type in the URL blackfoxnews.com/shop. Now, 215,000 confirmed COVID-19 cases yesterday across the United States, with 2,500 deceased due to COVID-19. So right now we're at a level where the average infection rate of daily infection rate is about 200,000, and right now the people who are watching the data scientists or whatever, they're saying that we're starting to see the spikes emerge from all of the holiday travel due to Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? A lot of y'all motherfuckers, and I'm talking to you, a lot of y'all motherfuckers was going to y'all people's house or whatever, wasn't properly testing or quarantining yourself before you went to your people's house. Your peoples wasn't properly quarantining themselves before y'all came over, and then y'all was just over there, you know what I mean, giving each other dab or whatever, hugging and giving COVID-19 to each other. Very possibly. But the numbers are rising across 38 states, and including the District of Columbia, you know, the capital of the U.S. Right now, Joe Biden, he's officially introduced his coronavirus team, and he even said that, you know, he's basically about, vaccines, masks, opening schools, and he said that with his first 100 days in office, he is going to do make sure that 100 million vaccines actually reach the arms of Americans. So he's going to vaccinate he's pledging to vaccinate 100 million people with the COVID-19 vaccine in his first 100 days in office. For you dumb motherfuckers that can't do math, that is 1 million people a day he is talking about vaccinating once he gets into office. So these are the times we in, y'all. Green Wall and Graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So, you know, Pfizer is one of the companies that's actually pushing to get emergency use authorization for these vaccines, this COVID-19 vaccine that they're trying to get distributed. It's the Pfizer BioNTech coronavirus vaccine. Well, the Food and Drug Administration, who actually would have the ability to approve of emergency use authorization, they have found that the vaccine is actually working in trials. They found it to be successful. So it puts it one step closer towards this authorization. Now, authorities are saying they're going to distribute the vaccine within days of an emergency use authorization. But this also comes as trial participants are talking about how they experience intense symptoms after receiving the second dose of the COVID-19 vaccine from Pfizer BioNTech, which has to be administered between about like 3 weeks after the first dose. These symptoms included chills, headaches, and fatigue. Green Wall and Graduation, y'all. Stay report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So there's a new report that actually came out by the People's Vaccine Alliance, right? And it shows that dozens, like 9 out of 10 people in dozens of poorer countries throughout the world could actually miss out completely on the coronavirus disease 2019 vaccine next year in 2021. You have a lot of the wealthier countries that apparently are just hoarding the supplies of these COVID-19 vaccines that are coming up, and in such a manner where the wealthier countries are actually able to vaccine their own populations like 3 times over. So just everybody stay woke on that front as well. Green Wall and Graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So Iran is actually complaining that the sanctions that are imposed on them by the United States is actually impeding its ability to actually vaccinate its population and make its fair payment to COVAX. COVAX is the mechanism set up by the United Nations to actually ensure that there's fair distribution of coronavirus disease 2019 vaccines to countries, because you would otherwise have like all of the rich countries getting all of the vaccines, and then the poor countries or the countries that got debts all out of whack with the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund or whatever, that just wouldn't get it. So you have Iran saying that it's actually the U.S. sanctions are affecting its receipt, which is for 17 million doses which will actually cover about 10% of Iran's population. Green War and Graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. So over in California, you actually have a surge in COVID-19 cases in the prison system again, where you right now have 4,000 active COVID-19 infected prisoners or whatever. It's the highest it's been since the pandemic has started. In total, 22,000 prisoners in California have actually contracted COVID-19 and 90 have actually died from it. So you have, unfortunately, over in San Quentin, they're actually preparing to transfer prisoners despite there being record high infection levels. And then you have an award-winning journalist, investigative journalist Juan Haynes, who actually spoke with our main source, Democracy Now! And what he was saying was the problem with the prison systems over there and they're battling with COVID-19 is that these prisons are enclosed and unventilated. So, you know, you're talking about a disease that has to do with the respiratory system, is like suspected to be airborne, whatever. How you just gonna be enclosed and unventilated and people who's catching COVID-19? Green War and Graduation, y'all. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. So over in Jersey, outside of the Bergen County Jail, for the last couple of weeks, there's actually been activists protesting outside in solidarity with prisoners on the inside that have been actually on hunger strike, demanding that they implement more safety and health conditions in the midst of this pandemic. They feel like they're not being protected from COVID-19. Now, 4 out of the 6 people on hunger strike have actually been taken to the emergency room as they've been on hunger strike for about a month, or for 1 month already. So it's unfortunate, but that's how it's going down. We'll see if this leads to anything, because they're demanding the release of all prisoners during the COVID-19 pandemic. Green War and Graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. So yesterday, Tuesday, the White House actually put forward a $916 billion COVID-19 stimulus relief package. It presented it in hopes of breaking the stalemate in Congress between the House of Representatives and the Senate. Now you have this bill actually does provide relief for state and local governments. It also includes liability protection for corporations, which, you know, the Republicans insisted on. And it's like, you know, I guess you don't want to be responsible for every motherfucker that just goes out and catches COVID-19 doing whatever the fuck they want. But at the same time, you should be able to reasonably make sure that motherfuckers ain't catching it at your place of business. So, you know, we'll see what that turns out and what the details are of those. It does not include the enhancement of unemployment benefits that the last stimulus bill had, but it does extend some unemployment programs that would soon expire. It does include also a direct payment of $600 per person, which is half of what motherfuckers got last time. Remember that $1,200 that y'all got? You know what I'm saying? That's cut in half. So, you know, $600. What the fuck is you supposed to do with that? Green War and Graduation. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. So yesterday, Tuesday, the United States Supreme Court, SCOTUS, mind you, this is a Supreme Court that's actually mostly conservative leaning, and Trump had appointed 3 of the justices that actually are on the court or whatever. They actually rejected a challenge that was brought by the Trump campaign to overturn the election results in Pennsylvania. Now, that brings the number to about 50 legal challenges that the Trump campaign has actually lost ever since ever since the election night. So despite all of that, you have some congressional Republican leaders, they still rejected this resolution that would have acknowledged that Joe Biden is the president-elect. Green War and Graduation. We'll see where this shit show goes. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Files News Report. So apparently Tom Vilsack has actually been tapped to lead the Department of Agriculture by Joe Biden. He would essentially be taking the same position that he had under Obama. Now, a lot of progressives and environmentalists didn't like this because Vilsack has a record of like supporting corporate interests over that of farmers, as well as like basically loosening regulations and being a backer of like GMOs and herbicide resistant crops. Right now, currently, he's actually the president and the CEO of U.S. Dairy Export, which is basically a company that's seen to protect the large corporations within the dairy industry. Keep in mind that many of small farms across the United States have actually been fucked up by the monopolies that have taken place in the agricultural industry and plunging dairy prices. Now, also you have Marcia Fudge, who's a Ohio congresswoman, black woman, who's actually been tapped to actually lead and be the head of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, the spot that Ben Carson had. So if she gets it, she'll actually be the first black woman to hold that position. And people are at the same time hoping that Nina Turner, a former Ohio State senator, and Bernie Sanders surrogate or whatever, they're actually hoping that she'll take Fudge's position if she leaves. So if Fudge is confirmed, which
out of the world of the Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So over there in Africa, in Ethiopia specifically, I've been keeping y'all up to date with what was going on with the Ethiopian federal troops, their military, actually battling against the local government of Northern Tigray. And they had been warring, whatever. Well, recently I told y'all also how Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed had actually claimed victory over that situation and said they had that region under control now. Well, federal troops of Ethiopia actually had to admit that they had fired at and detained some United Nations workers that were actually in the Northern Tigray region, saying that they were actually in areas that were deemed forbidden. Now, humanitarian groups right now are searching for any refugees or displaced peoples from the battling that's been going on, in a situation that they're describing as increasingly critical, as you're seeing a lot of shortages in food, clean water, and other necessities. Now, the news outlet Reuters, they're actually reporting that the United States believes that troops and soldiers from Eritrea have actually joined to fight alongside Ethiopian military troops in dealing with the Northern Tigray forces. Now, keep in mind the history between Eritrea and Ethiopia. For decades they had actually it was a lot of hostility between the two groups, or between the two countries, until a historic peace deal was actually reached back in 2018. Now, both Ethiopia and Eritrea have actually denied that. Report out of the world of the Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So the Cost of War project that's at Brown University, they actually put out a report that showed that in Afghanistan, airstrikes led by the United States and its allies have actually increased by 330% since 2017. Actually, in 2019 alone, there were 700 people that were actually killed in Afghanistan from U.S. airstrikes orchestrated by the Trump administration. Now, the Save the Children Foundation, they actually found that Afghanistan is actually the most dangerous place in the world for children, and that there were actually from 2005 to 2019, there have actually been 26,000 children that have actually been either killed or injured. So it's a lot of activity going on over there by the U.S. backed government of Afghanistan and the Taliban. A lot of conflict. We'll see how this turns out. Green War and Graduation. Report out of the world of the Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News Report. So over in France, you actually had the president Emmanuel Macron. He actually had the Egyptian president Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, had him at the Elysee Palace on Monday, and he basically said that, he did say that they are going to continue to sell weapons to Egypt. Now, keep in mind, the problem with it is that there's a bunch of accusations against the Egyptian government over human rights violations, including the use of force, disappearances, mass arrests. You're talking about torture, all of that amid an unprecedented crackdown on activists and journalists. Now, he actually said on Monday, French President Emmanuel Macron, he actually said that he's not going to condition matters of defense and economic cooperation on human rights, disagreements on human rights, basically because he believes in the sovereignty of the peoples and also because it's a matter of like there being mutual interest and reciprocal interest and all of that. So basically, because he just sees that it's a benefit to doing it, he's still gonna deal with them. Now, morally, that doesn't seem like a good reason to still be giving weapons to people that are like torturing their own people, but that's where he stands, and he's made it very clear. Green War and Graduation. Report out of the world, though, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So the United Nations actually put it out there. They said we reached as a globe, as a world, we actually reached a bleak milestone with it's been reported that over 80 million people have actually been displaced due to like wars and battles all throughout the world. Now, keep in mind that the United Nations had actually put out or tried to call for a global ceasefire while the entire planet deals with COVID-19. Places that actually saw the most displacement, you're talking about Syria, you're talking about Democratic Republic of Congo in Africa, Somalia, Mozambique, Yemen, and Africa's Central Sahel region. Green War and Graduation. Report out in the world, though, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. Over in Greece, you actually have the Human Rights Watch is actually reporting that there is actually lead poisoning that these refugees at this camp are susceptible to after at this camp that was built by Greek authorities on a former military shooting range on the island of Lesbos. The Human Rights Watch says that the authorities didn't conduct proper testing on the soil before they moved thousands of refugees over there. And keep in mind that back in September, there was actually a fire that took place at the Moriah camp that actually displaced 12,000 refugees. Now, currently at the new camp, there's 7,500 refugees. They're mostly from Afghanistan and Syria. Green War and Graduation. Report out in the world, though, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So the United States government has actually extended TPS, temporary protection status, to the following countries. You got Honduras, El Salvador, Haiti, Nicaragua, Sudan, and Nepal, at least up until October of 2021. Now, this is part of an agreement that came from a lawsuit and a battle between the U.S. government and plaintiffs who actually brought this lawsuit, suing them after they tried to after the Trump administration pretty much killed the TPS program, the Humanitarian Relief Program, earlier this year. Now, also keep in mind that there are Immigration Rights Act advocates that are like demanding that the Trump administration grant temporary protected status to all Central American refugees who were devastated by hurricanes Ada and Iota. Now, the Norwegian Refugee Council is actually reporting that there are like in Guatemala and Honduras, there are 400,000 people that are in urgent need of humanitarian aid from those two hurricanes. Green War and Graduation. Report out in the world, though, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So the United States House of Representatives, they actually voted for a $741 billion National Defense Authorization Act. You know, they have to do this every year, basically, to break down a Pentagon budget. And in voting, they actually voted on with a veto-proof majority. President Trump cannot veto this shit. And it's interesting because one of the provisions of the act is that all Confederate names from all military bases will actually be stripped, and that alone was something that Trump said would make him veto the bill. And also, Trump said that he would veto it if there was nothing in there cracking down on social media companies that he claimed were biased against him during the election. I'm just like, come on, dog. You know what I mean? After Cambridge Analytica, we know you had, Facebook sold up in the rope. Like, how you gonna act like they wasn't on your side and they ain't playing to your strengths just because you lost the election? You know what I'm saying? Y'all the one spreading the fake news. It's fact. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, the Authorization Act also calls for federal officials federal officers to identify themselves whenever they're amongst the people at protests or whatever, after the lack of them doing so during all of these racial injustice protests that took place this past summer. The bill also calls for pay raises for troops and a slowdown of the drawdown of forces from Afghanistan and Germany. it also makes it harder for military to be deployed to the U.S.-Mexico border. Now, everybody wasn't feeling this bill, though. You have a congressman in Minnesota, Ilhan Omar, who voted against it, basically saying that it's unconscionable to actually like give more funding to essentially to fund more like endless wars while we're over here, devastated and dealing with our own shit, basically. And I'll definitely paraphrase that, but that's basically what she was saying. She might have a point. Green War on graduation, though. Report of the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So over in Texas, the U.S. Army has actually fired or suspended 14 officers that are actually in Fort Hood. This was after a probe had went into like sex assaults and murders that took place in Fort Hood, including the bludgeoning death of Vanessa Guillen, 20-year-old Army officer who had her remains found in July. So the whole probe was even brought about by like pressure from the Guillen family and people that were advocating for her. They're not the family's not looking at this as justice. You actually had Mayra Guillen, who's actually on Twitter saying like, this is not justice. We need to bring justice, like not just have them fired, like justice, justice for Vanessa Guillen. And I have to second that. Green War on graduation. Report out of the world, the Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. Up there in Portland, Oregon, on Tuesday, there was actually a standoff between protesters outside of this home where this black and indigenous families were actually evicted. It was a standoff between like 100 protesters and the police, and at least seven people were arrested. Now, the protesters are like basically trying to they're camping outside of the home, and essentially are protesting against the gentrification of the area. And at the same time, the authorities are saying that these people weren't protected by the eviction moratoriums that came from COVID-19 from the government and all of that, because the home itself was being foreclosed on. So a lot of people feel like that area, they're just trying to get rid of people, black and brown people, so they can build sky rises in places for the wealthy. So we'll see how this ends up. Green War on graduation. Please report out of the New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this Black Fox News report. So a federal appeals court has actually rejected the approval of the construction of the country's first offshore oil drilling facility that was said to be built in federal Arctic waters. The proposed project was basically the building of a 9-acre artificial island that would allow for a private company to basically drill for oil in the Beaufort Sea. Now, keep in mind that the Trump administration, they're actually racing to basically sell off oil drilling rights throughout the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. And this will actually, they're trying to do so like before Biden actually gets into office. They're actually having a major lease sale that's set to take place on January 6th. We'll see how this turns out. Green War on graduation.